Shed Live for this evening. We are back back in the loft, as you can see at the moment, because technically things are changing on the technical side around here. I will tell you a little bit more about it as the day goes on. Right, let's have a little look what we've got. Right, I'm just looking to see who we've got in the old chat. Where are we? There it is. Right, yeah, there's the chat. It looks like Christopher's here. It looks like Dominic's here. It looks like Gambo is here. I think, although it doesn't tell me a time on the way I'm doing this at the minute, so we'll see, shall we? We'll see if folks are actually on here. Of course, there was no clock or anything to bring you into the stream today. Mainly because we're doing it differently. We're doing it all in a different way today, because basically we've been sort of ousted from our normal position, so back up here into the loft. And of course, when we're in here, things don't work properly because you have to stream via a phone and the cameras don't work, which is why I'm in a silly square letterbox instead of being in nice widescreen like we normally are. But hopefully we will make the most of it, and we'll see how it goes. Christopher is here. He says, "Hi Andy, hi all. Hi Christopher." And yes, I have got your emails, Christopher, but because I'm up here today, I can't like show them or anything, but I have got them. So yeah, we are back today, and you'd think I'd be ready to be back, wouldn't you? But I'm really not. In fact, I've been so busy, I've given it no thought whatsoever. Because I'm just that rushed off my feet with other things at the minute. Really rushed off my feet. So telephones have taken. I've not touched a telephone, do any work on it since the last episode was on air. Not even picked one up. It's been that busy. All that's arrived in the post since the last episode is this. See that? Do you know what it is? It's a key. Yes, it's a key. It doesn't actually work very well. I'm not 100% sure I've actually got the right key for it. But now, it did work the other day, and it's not working now. Oh, that's it. So what it is a lock that fits into here. Oh, Wesley's here with us as well. It's a lock that fits into a telephone. Don't believe me? I will show you. Right, now I'll show you on this one here. Right, bear with me a sec. Pick it up, and then we'll try and do this one-handed now. So here's your telephone, here's your lock, which fits into your dial like that, and then you put your key in and turn the key if you can, like that. No, that's not it. All right, it doesn't work really well. I'm not convinced this has got the right key, actually. And it's also not easy to do with one hand. But the idea is, put you back up here a minute. The idea is that you can lock the dial. Now, theory, really is rubbish, this. The key wobbles about in the lock. Can you see that? Okay, it goes like in the lock at a stupid angle, look. And it doesn't want. Right. Now that's it, I've locked it now. So unlock it again. Like that. Put that in the dial like that, which you can't see now. I should then be able to lock it again, which I can't do because I'm going to get a phone on the desk. That's it. I've now locked it. Now, so I'll take the key out. So I've now locked that there, you say, and the idea is now you can only dial one. At least I think that's how it's supposed to work. There'd be no benefit from putting it in 0, would there? Because then you'd be able to dial quite a lot of numbers. But of course there's no benefit from it really anyway, because if you want to dial a number you just go like that and dial a number like that, wouldn't you? So there's no benefit to it anyway really, but people did used to have these stupid pieces of kit. So I happened to see one, I think it was only a couple of quid, so I thought for the sake of completeness I probably ought to get one. So that's the only thing that's arrived telephone related in the last few weeks. That's the only thing that's come. I'm going to try and unlock that now. There we go. That's it. I can't lock the bloody thing again. Oh, that's it. Now, you see, that's the locked position. And that's the unlocked position. But yeah, don't call us, we'll call you on this one. Yeah, and if that was on Dragon's Den, I will definitely be out. Because it's not very good. Right, let's catch up with the old chat, shall we? Where is it? It's here somewhere. Should be. Look. Yeah. Where it says it's the wrong key, perhaps. Yeah. What? And Dominic says, working on YouTube, but a bit patchy on Odyssey. Yeah, I don't know what's been happening to Odyssey recently. Because, as you know, Odyssey was up for sale at one point. I don't know if anybody's bought it or anything. What happened to the Library Foundation that used to run Odyssey? It's a rather sad story. What happened to it? But look it up online. You'll find out what happened to it. Basically, Odyssey was nobbled by the U.S. government and made the Library Foundation bankrupt. So they had to sell Odyssey. And last I heard, it was still operating but up for sale. I don't know if they have now sold it, because the reason we've not got chat on the side of the screens at the minute is because last time we did it, there was a pop-up advert that came up over the chat. So we'll be looking for another way of doing the chat and things in the future. But we have got some new computer systems that we are building at the moment. We're building a new computer, basically, that will hopefully allow us to live stream from the radio studio, which is another story in itself, because the radio studio may be changing. One thing I do need to put a appeal out for is we are looking for a new radio studio, because the one we've got is too small for all the stuff that's in it now. We need a bigger space. There is a bigger space available in the mills at Plesley Vale, but the bigger space is more money per square foot. Now, I would have thought if you had more square footage, the price per square foot ought to come down a bit, didn't it? You know, you buy more of something, the price for a given volume, when you buy more of it, should come down, shouldn't it? But not in Bolsover District Council's eyes. They want to charge me basically twice as much money for a room that is only about 1.5 times the size of the one we've got at the minute. So we're looking for somewhere else to go. So if you know anybody that's got any industrial units or anything to let us know. Get in touch. Go onto the website and fill in the contact form to andyshed.coalpress.net. Where it says, was that the wrong key that you've got? It looks like the wrong key to me, Wesley, but it's the only key I've got. It's the only key that came with it. Dominic says, you missed the Northern Lights on Friday. Yes, so did I, Dominic. Apparently, they're not very visible to the naked eye. When you see the Northern Lights on a photo, and it's on all the sky is colourful, apparently that's something to do with seeing it through a camera. There's something goes on when you see it through a camera, and apparently they show up more through a camera than they do with the naked eye. Christopher says, stream is playing up on Odyssey, but playing fine on YouTube. No idea what's going on with Odyssey, Christopher. No idea what's going on with it. But it is now on Odyssey. It's on YouTube. We're on Facebook as well. We should be on the Andy Shed page on Facebook. If you want to go search for that, and you should find it's playing on there as well now. In fact, it is playing. It will be on the Andy's Vintage Emporium page on Facebook as well. So there are 4 different places this stream should be playing at the moment, coming out live. But the chat theoretically is on Odyssey. But we do need to do something to try and sort it out, I think, don't we? Wesley says, that key thing for the diet, it's a great idea for when you need the emergency services in the middle of the night. Yeah. But they did used to have them though, didn't they? People did used to put these little key things in the dials. People did used to have it. I think it was to stop teenage son or daughter from making unauthorized use of the telephone, wasn't it? I think. But I'm not sure that's the right key for that, because, well, I'm just not. It just doesn't feel right. But yeah, it's a bit pants. Gambo says he's watching on YouTube and chatting via Odyssey. Yeah. The chat is via Odyssey. The chat that I can see. It's not the YouTube chat. If you're chatting on YouTube, I can't see that. Dominic says, I visited Dumfries and Annan a couple of weeks ago while I was up in Carlisle. Very good. And Chris says, Andy, did you see the photo of my new GEC New Zealand phone? Yes, I've seen it, Christopher, but like I say, I can't show it because I'm not near anything that's got email at the minute. Dominic says, saw the camera obscura, which was interesting, and the old Solway Viaduct trackbed on the Scottish side. Did you see the Solway Firth Spaceman while you were there, Dominic? That is the question. Take a photo and see if the Solway Firth Spaceman comes out in the background. Dominic says he had a braw haggis morning roll. A braw haggis morning roll. Well, you did more than I managed when I went to Scotland. Because when I went to Scotland a few years back, I went to Aberdeen, and I couldn't get a haggis in Scotland for love nor money. All they wanted to sell me was Yorkshire puddings. I don't think Dominic knows what the Solway Firth Spaceman is. The Solway Firth Spaceman is a famous photo that was taken by somebody of his little girl, and when the photo was developed, little girl sat outside at Solway Firth there, sort of by the sea, and when the photo was developed, there is what I can only describe as a man in a spacesuit looking over her shoulder like that. Just Google the Solway Firth Spaceman, you'll find it. I'm sure you will find the photo. And there is a spaceman behind the little girl who apparently was not there when the photo was taken. So it's a kind of supernatural weird thing that is it's quite well known, actually. Surprised you haven't heard of the Solway Firth Spaceman. Yeah, and it was in a time before computer images and all that kind of stuff as well, and various people have looked at the photograph and tried to work out whether it was real or not. And I think Kodak or somebody analysed it and said it seemed genuine, the photo. So yeah, all a bit strange, but yeah, Google Solway Firth Spaceman, and you'll go down a right rabbit hole of weirdness. Because when you go down that sort of track of UFOs and ghosts and things like that, you then suddenly realise how many unexplained things there are in the world. Dominic says, very interesting. I think I remember seeing something about the Solway Firth Spaceman in Usborne Book of the Unknown, come to think about it. And Christopher says, and I heard an air raid siren in my new area at 5 a.m. a week ago. You heard an air raid siren, Christopher. It wasn't you setting it off. So somebody else has got one. Crikey. Somebody else has got an air raid siren besides Christopher. Yeah. There seem to be more air raid sirens left in Australia than there are in Britain. It's very, very rare you see one here. And you certainly don't hear them. And Christopher says he's got an Ericsson N1900 coming soon from eBay as well. So Christopher's been buying the phones while I've been on phone buying hiatus. Christopher seems to have taken over the mantle of buying all the bargains off eBay and that. So yeah, he's got another N1900 coming. To be honest, there's not been much for sale on the old internet and that just recently. It's not been very good. Oh, I have bought some parts. That I've got to go to Wigan to collect. So sometime this next week or maybe the week after, I've got to have a trip to Wigan to go and collect a box of phone parts. And that. So yeah, I have bought something. It's just not something that got posted to me. But yeah, we're trying to get the radio station going at the minute. Basically because we need it to start making some income. The problem with the radio station at the minute is it drains money. It drains money, like money's going out of fashion, the radio station does. And if we move into a bigger room, a bigger studio, whatever you want to call it, it'll drain even more money. And it's not making a penny at the minute, so we need to get it up and running and profitable in some way, because it does need to start paying for itself. Starting an online radio station is not cheap. Yeah, it's cheap if you cheat and just do it on a computer in your bedroom, and it'll sound cheap as well. It'll sound terrible, but if you do it properly with a proper studio and a mixer and all that, then it's not cheap to do at all. Let me tell you. Christopher says that the air raid siren came from a factory in Collingwood, and he's recorded it. Excellent. Maybe it was kind of a knocking off siren or something. There used to be one here. We used to have the coking and chemical plant, just down the road from me here, and they had a siren which may have been an ex-World War II air raid siren. It certainly sounded a bit like an air raid siren, and they used to sound this siren if they had a chemical leak, if they made a cock up and released something into the atmosphere they shouldn't have. They used to sound this siren so that everybody around sort of shut all the doors and windows and stuff. And every now and again they tested it, and they used to send a little letter around saying, at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning we will be testing the siren. Don't panic, there's not been a chemical leak, it's just us testing. So yeah, they did used to do that. I wouldn't think they would test one at 5 a.m. though, Christopher, so I wonder what was going on at 5 o'clock in the morning. Dominic says, have you found some presenters for the radio station yet? No, Dominic, not yet. I haven't. No, I've not massively looked yet, to be honest with you. But no, we've not found any yet. At the minute, some of the shows are going to be voice tracked, which means I'm going to be doing something like 20. I think it's 29 hours a week of radio, voice tracked, which I'm hoping we will be able to make that 29 hours of radio in about 8 hours. I'm hoping. Dominic says, the Black Country Living Museum has a hooter that goes off at the end of the day, he thinks. Do they? I didn't know that. That's interesting. There is one that goes off at 1 o'clock in Sheffield City Centre called the 1 o'clock hooter. Yeah, I heard a funny story this week, talking of hooters. There's a hooter that goes off at 1 o'clock in Sheffield city centre, at least on weekdays. I don't know if it does it at weekends as well. It's at the top end of Fargate, at the moor end of Fargate in Sheffield, above a jeweller's shop, and it's quite historic. It's done it for many, many years, and everybody goes, "What's that noise?" 1 o'clock. Can't say that I've ever been there and heard it though. I must not just have been there at 1 o'clock. But yeah, the story that I heard, talking of hooters, involves not a hooter, but the restaurant chain Hooters. One of the waitresses in Hooters restaurant, in fact we've used this as a fact or fiction on the radio show, one of the waitresses in the Hooters restaurant chain won a Toyota, because basically this particular restaurant had a sales competition for who could make the most sales in a month, and said whoever makes the most sales will win a Toyota. So she's thinking, oh great, I'm going to get a new car. So it came to the day of doing the presentation. They blindfolded her, took her outside to the parking lot, and presented her not with the Toyota but with the Toy Yoda, the model of the little green guy from Star Wars. Not a Toyota but a Toy Yoda. And apparently it was a bit of a stunt for April Fool's Day. However, she had the last laugh because, and this could only happen in America, the waitress took Hooters restaurant to court, sued them for gross misrepresentation, amongst other things, and she won. She got an out-of-court settlement, which will let her buy any Toyota that she likes. So she did get a Toyota at the end of it. But apparently that happened a lot of years ago, but I didn't hear it until this last week. I thought it was funny. Christopher said air raid sirens are coming into use in Australia because they were hit by tornadoes 4 days ago. Crikey. Didn't realise you had tornadoes in Australia. Tornadoes. Now get tornadoes and hurricanes mixed up. Tornadoes are the ones that spin round, aren't they? That's a tornado. Like sucks Dorothy up in The Wizard of Oz. That's a tornado, isn't it? A hurricane's just a strong wind. Yeah, I know a girl who lives in Tornado Alley in America. Yeah, she lives in Alabama, and the bit she lives in is like right in the middle of Tornado Alley in America, and she gets tornado warnings all the time, and they are basically like air raid sirens. And I said to her, Is it not scary? She said, "Nah, I'm used to it now." So what happens if one hits your house? She said, if it hits your house just ends up being a pile of matchwood. She said, and yeah, you just rebuild it. And apparently, what they do in America. And I'd always kind of wondered why they don't have brick houses in America. Because they don't seem to have brick houses. At least not so much. Traditional American houses are all wooden, aren't they? And what they do, they sort of put down a concrete base and a basement. And the basement is kind of generally tornado proof because it's a concrete box, basically, these days. And then they build a wooden house on top of it. And if you have a tornado, you go down into the basement, shut a sort of hatch above you, and if your house gets blown away by the tornado, you're safe in the basement. And when the tornado's gone, you just open the hatch and move all the planks of wood away and come out and rebuild your house. Whereas if it was built out of bricks and all the bricks fell down, you'd be buried under tons and tons and tons of rubble. So they know a thing or two about what to build the houses out of and how to cope with tornadoes over there. But they just treat it as part of living there. You know, if your house gets hit by a tornado, you don't sit crying about it. You basically go and pick through the rubble, pick up all the pieces and rebuild. And they are amazingly resilient people out there as well. Amazing. A tornado goes through, next day everybody's out. You know, the house is completely flattened, but they're out picking up what belongings they can find that they've got left and stuff, and start rebuilding straight away. Amazingly resilient people. Dominic says, that would make it interesting to escape the shed to see the Hooter in Sheffield city centre. Not the restaurant, though. I don't think there's a Hooters restaurant in Sheffield. I don't think there's one in Sheffield. There's one in Nottingham. I've seen the one in Nottingham. Not been in, but I've seen it. But I don't think there's one in Sheffield. Chris says, I'll send you a video link showing the tornado in Australia so you can see it later. Crikey. Yeah. Yeah, the Sheffield 1 o'clock Hooter thing, it would make an interesting escape the shed. The thing is, it's in Sheffield city centre, and because there is now one of these stupid low emission zones in Sheffield, I don't go into Sheffield city centre anymore. I've not been into Sheffield city centre for 2 or 3 years at least. In fact, I think it was probably before the lockdowns last time I went to Sheffield, into the city centre. Yeah, probably before the lockdowns. Yeah. Who goes to city centres anymore? Hands up if you ever go into a city centre anymore. No, I don't. I don't even go in shop anymore. I don't even go shopping. You know, me food shopping and that is all done online now. Because when was the last time you went into a shop and actually got the item you wanted out of the shop? Doesn't happen for me. It just doesn't happen for me. If I go into a shop, oh, sorry, we've not got that in stock. Nobody asks us for that. So now I've stopped even bothering going to a shop because I know they're not going to have what I want. I've just stopped bothering, and I just get online, get on eBay or whatever, buy it off there, and in a couple of days it's here, and I've not had to go shopping. So yeah. I personally think the time will come when we don't have shops. I really do. I mean, one thing that interests me is what these futurologists do, or these people who kind of try and predict the future and can kind of look forward and guess at what's going to happen in the future. And they take an educated guess at it generally. And that fascinates me. I'd love that as a job, being a futurologist. Just guessing the future. Yeah, I think the time will come when there are no shops anymore. And I also think the time will come when nobody drives anymore. When you don't have a car. Yeah. But I don't think there'll be public transport as we know it now. I don't think Christopher's Melbourne trams will be around anymore, or the buses or rubbish trains that we have over here. I think in the future, and I think it's a close future, and I think it'll probably happen in our lifetimes, or it'll start to happen. I think rather than get on a bus or a train to go anywhere or get in your car, I think what you will do is you will click an app on your phone, and a little pod thing will turn up at your door. You will get in it. It'll take you where you want to go. You'll get out and it'll go and trundle off to do its next trip for whoever. And then when you want to go back home again, you click your app on your phone again, another little driverless pod will turn up. You get in it and it'll take you home, and it'll know how many miles you've gone, and it'll automatically debit a given amount out of your bank account. Yeah, I think that will come. I think shops, I think we'll finally get rid of the checkout staff in shops. Yes! My nemesis is the checkout staff in shops. But I think we will also get rid of those god awful auto checkouts. I think you will be able to go into a shop and GPS on your phone will know when you've gone into a shop. It'll know when you've gone into, say, Sainsbury's, if indeed there are any shops. You will pick stuff off the shelf. As you put the stuff into your trolley, the trolley that you've got that will recognise your fingerprints will scan the item as you drop it into the trolley and unscan it, and if you take it out of the trolley again. And then when you've done your shopping, you will just put all the stuff in your shopping bag, walk out the shop, and as you walk out the shop, GPS will know that you've walked out the shop, and it will debit the amount of your shopping off your bank card automatically. That is already happening in Japan. So yeah, lots of things are going to change in the future, but I think we need to look at new ways of using space. I don't think city centres will be a thing in 100 years' time. Dominic says, I think shops need to focus on what you can't get online. Good customer service, ability to try before you buy, if possible. Yeah, but I don't think people will bother, because you can still try before you buy online. You can get something online. Don't Amazon do a thing where you can buy something online? If you don't like it, you just send it back. Didn't Amazon trial something similar to an open shop trial? They possibly did. Amazon trials all sorts of gimmicks. They're not really real trials. It's like the thing of delivering by drones. They're not real trials. They're just publicity stunts with Amazon. It's not a real trial. There's no way you're going to have your shopping delivered by a drone. A drone cannot pick up enough weight to be able to deliver your shopping. When my shopping comes and Thor's got like a dozen tins of dog meat in a pack, how's a drone going to pick that up? A dozen 400-gram tins of dog meat. How's a drone going to pick that up together with all my other shopping? No way on earth is that going to happen. But what might happen, and I think it's been tried in Leeds, is these like robot cart things making deliveries, whereby you order stuff from the shop, it all gets put in what I could only describe as a robot shopping trolley with a lid on, and then the robot shopping trolley then trundles to your house, sort of comes up your garden path, you go out, open the lid. I don't know if it's the key code or something. Only you know to open the lid. You open the lid, get your shopping out, give the trolley a pat on the head, and off it goes back to the shop. Think that could be quite good. I'd like that to happen, and of course I'll tell you something, the robot shopping trolley would probably be a lot cleverer than the Asda delivery drivers that come here. Don't even get me started with Asda delivery drivers. Don't do it. Don't do it. I have an Asda delivery every Thursday or Friday night. The delivery slot is between 9 and 11 p.m. Yeah, every night. So I'm generally back, so I'm not out when it comes. Of course, I don't go to bed early. So 9 to 11. And I put on as a note on the delivery thing, do not deliver before 9 p.m. as I will not be in. Every week, 8:30. Can I deliver your shopping now, or do you want me to wait? Well, did you not read the thing that says you're not supposed to come before 9 p.m? Oh yeah, I read that, but I thought I'd come anyway. I'm going to start making them wait. I'm going to start saying, no, you can't deliver it now. You've got to wait till 9 o'clock. Can't believe how stupid they are. Really can't believe it. And then there was the one that couldn't find the door, which was absolute legend. Rang me up. I'm your Asda delivery driver. It says bring to the front door, but I can't find the front door. Now the thing is, it's a semi-detached house, and the front door is actually on the side of the house, because there's like a driveway that goes up the side of the house, and the door is there. Can't find your front door. Well, it's on the side of the house. But it says on here, front door. That is the front door. Oh, well, it should say side door. I'm thinking, oh, God. Yeah, they are not the sharpest. Don't get me wrong, it's not all of them. Some of them, although it's a minority, some of them are all right. But most of them, crikey, oh dear me. Oh, space shuttle pilots they would not be. Christopher says, I only go into Melbourne city centre to ride the trams. I don't go in the shops. You're quite wise, Christopher. I'll tell you something, though. Don't think I'll be riding the trams much here. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, actually, because Dominic and Gambo are here. Dominic and Gambo, as you are both here, and you were both talking about going to Blackpool over the late May bank holiday, I've had a thing come through today from Blackpool Heritage Trams to tell me what's happening. Basically, it is their heritage, one of their heritage weekends. There are various heritage tram services running. You can travel on them if you're prepared out to take You can travel on them if you're prepared to take out a second mortgage to finance the cost of the tickets, because they are unbelievably expensive. I think for like a day travel card thing, that last time I travelled on the trams was about £4, is £18. £18. Yeah, from £4 to £18. All right. And there will only be 4 heritage cars running, apparently, over that weekend. North Station. North Station is not going to be open. North Station, I believe, is going to open about a fortnight later in the middle of June. It's something like, I think it's something like 17th of June or something like that. It's a Sunday. It's actually going to open on a Sunday in June. North Station in the middle of June. The North Station route. So that is not going to be open, that bit. Although there will possibly be trams running up and down it doing driver training. Dominic says, Cambridge has robots that deliver small amounts of shopping. Does it? I wonder if they're the things I've seen. I thought they were in Leeds. I thought they were trialling Leeds. But maybe it is Cambridge, or maybe it's both. And he also says, wow, they aren't giving them away. I think you're referring to the very expensive tram tickets. Yeah. And unfortunately, Blackpool Transport have changed their ticket machines now, so I can't print my own either. Because I have got some. They used to have Tim ticket machines, and then after the Tim ticket machines, they had Almex ticket machines, both of which I've got one of. So you could, if you were feeling mischievous, print your own tickets. Christopher says, I was riding and filming the Bendigo Heritage trams and it all went wrong for the Wire 1 class tram trolley pole. Yeah, they didn't hit one pearl one around the overhead. I had a fantastic one at once at the Tramway Museum at Christ that did that. The best dewirement I've ever seen. It was. Now let me think. Which tram was it? I'm wanting to say it was London 1622. But does that not have a trolley pole at both ends? 1622. Who's been to Christ recently? Does London 1622 have a trolley pole at both ends? Does it have two? Because a lot of London trams, E1s and HR2s, a lot of them had two trolley poles, so you didn't have to turn it. But I can't remember if it was 1622 or if it was Liverpool 869, because they were restored in quick succession. They did 869, then they did 1622. Can't remember which one it was, but one of those, I'm now thinking it was probably 869. Yeah, I think it was 869. It was being commissioned. It had just been restored. It hadn't run in passenger service properly, and it was being commissioned. And there were the Snooty Brigade from Crouch on board it, members of the board of management and workshop superintendents. There was a bloke called John Shawcross on it who's dead now. But he used to upset volunteers like it were going out of fashion. And there were. Tell me I got one of those stuck to my jumper. And he was sat on board this tram, and there was, I think, the chief driving instructor guy was driving it, and the chief conductor examiner was conducting on it, and they were running it up and down, getting mileage on it before it went into service. And it was just at a time where they're having a bit of a panic about people who had now got cameras on their mobile phones for the first time, or at least decent cameras on their mobile phones for the first time. And they were having a panic about the number of people taking pictures around the museum, that if anybody did anything wrong, it would probably be recorded by somebody. So they're having a bit of a panic about this. And on this particular day, a television company, I can't remember if it was BBC or ITV, but I think it was one of the regional news people, had decided they wanted to come and film, which they occasionally did. You know, if they're having a bit of a slow news day for the tea time news, they'd come and say what's going on at Christ, and we'll come and film it. And I said, "Oh, we've got this new tram. Oh, we'll come and film it." So they came, and at the time there was a marketing woman there called Leslie Wild, who became the default manager when the previous manager kind of got the boot. And she decreed that this film crew must have a museum person with them at all times, to make sure they didn't film anything untoward. And there was a lovely girl that used to work in the office called Cara, and it was not a particularly nice day weather-wise, and she had been out all morning with this film crew in the cold, and I think it was a bit wet as well, and the wind and that, you know, and you can imagine what it's like up on top of that Derbyshire mountain. She'd been out with this film crew all morning. She was frozen. She was soaked to the skin, and she came in to have her lunch. And this Leslie Wild said, "Andy, you go out with them. Let Cara have a break." So I went out with this film crew, and for those of you who know Christ, the Tramway Museum, or the Tramway Village as they now call it, this film crew had set up their camera in the down track outside the Emporium shop at Town End, with the camera pointing towards Town End. And the idea was this tram that had been newly commissioned, I'm still not sure if it was 1622 or 869. I have a feeling it was 1622, but I thought that had two trolleys. But it was something that only had one trolley anyway, but let's say it was 1622. Normally, they would turn the trolley by hand at Town End. And then it would set off, it would go across a crossing onto the northbound track. So it's sat on the southbound track, so it's coming on that. They turn the trolley, it loads up with people normally, if there's people to get on, it then moves back forward, across the crossing, onto the northbound track, off it goes, past where this camera was going to be set up. The camera was going to track round with it, follow it up the street. You know, the camera was going to slowly zoom in as the tram went away up the street, so it kind of followed the tram up the street with the zoom. The tram goes under the Bowes-Lyon Bridge, around a little corner into the distance, and they were going to do a nice Irish to black and fade out. And and because the weather had been so bad, the chief conductor trainer, who I will not name on here, but two rights do make a wrong, decided that rather than turn the trolley, they would let it go round the automatic trolley reverser, which is the kind of trolley does a 3-point turn in the overhead. it kind of hits a frog in the overhead, goes out to the side, because it's pushing the trolley. If you not turn the trolley, the tram pushes the trolley as it moves forward. There's then a frog in the overhead, which is the overhead version of a set of points. The trolley goes out sideways as the tram goes past, and then as the tram moves past, it pulls the trolley back in again behind itself. Now, they normally didn't use that on this tram because this tram was fitted with a rope to turn in the trolley, because for some reason at Christ they don't like using bamboo poles. So they fit everything with this stupid piece of rope to turn the trolleys. And they don't normally let you use the trolley reverser because when the trolley comes out sideways, this rope can smack somebody in the face that's walking down the pavement. But because the weather was so bad, they decided, right, we are going to use the trolley reverser. We're not going to get off the tram and turn the trolley, we're going to use the reverser. So I'm stood there in the pouring rain with this film crew outside the Emporium shop looking at this tram. And it's going to set off towards us with the trolley leading. The idea is the trolley is going to go out sideways, tram is going to go past, trolley will come back in behind it, and the tram will go over the crossing. It will then pass the camera will pan round with it, and then follow it on a zoom as it goes off into the sunset. What actually happened was the tram set off, the trolley started to go out round the trolley reverser, then it de-wired. It managed to get under one wire, over a span wire, under another wire, and managed to knit itself beautifully into this trolley reverser. The momentum of this tram kept the whole thing moving and because there's about 15 ton of tram here. Now, the momentum of it keeps moving and it pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls on the overhead, and I can see the overhead all pulling, and I can see the traction poles that hold the overhead up bending inwards like this. And all of a sudden there's an almighty twang. The wire on the trolley reverser breaks. The head of the trolley, the bit with the wheel on, comes off the end of the pole. That comes crashing down onto the ground, onto a granite curbstone that shatters. And the tension that's built up in these traction poles is suddenly released because the wires broke. The traction pole goes twang, twang, and the cast iron finial off the top of the traction pole, which is not an insignificant item when you see one on the ground, flirts out the top of the traction pole, does a somersault through the air, comes crashing down at the side of this film crew and shatters into a million pieces of cast iron. And all I could say, I just turned around to this film crew and said, when you get your 250 quid off You've Been Framed, I want a cut of that. And I went back into the office. And I've never seen the footage. I would love to see the footage of that, but I can't even remember what film crew it was. I have a feeling it was probably the BBC. It was probably BBC Midlands Today, but I can't remember for sure. But yeah, it just everything that shouldn't be able to happen, because these trolleys are designed to pull off the end of the pole, and then they should be retained on a bit of rope that's about 6 inches to a foot long, what they call a safety rope, like a little dog lead retainer thing. So the trolley head, which is made out of phosphor bronze, basically, it's heavy, so that doesn't actually hit the ground. but it got so tangled in the overhead that it actually pulled the overhead down, ripped this safety cord off, got boom down onto the ground. And then what got me was the finial, the cast iron finial, out the top of the traction pole, which had just ledged in there. They just sort of and wee, and crash at the side of this film crew. And yeah, it was one of the better days at Crouch. That was very, very funny. Dominic says, for this Blackpool trip, what day were you thinking of again? I'll look into how I'll get there by train next week. I think we were thinking of the bank holiday Monday, because I think Gambo said he'd got a wedding on the Saturday. He said he'd be too drunk to travel on the Sunday, so we were thinking of the bank holiday Monday, I think. So whatever date that is, 27th, 28th May, something like that. Yeah. Christopher says the pole de-wired and broke the rope to pull the pole down, and I got it on video. Well, yes. You see, that's the silly rope, Christopher, that they have at Crouch. Now, proper tramways, Blackpool being a good example, often don't have a rope on the trolley. They have a bamboo pole hidden somewhere on board the tram that is long enough, and it's got a hook on the end, it's long enough that you get this bamboo pole and hook the trolley down with the bamboo pole. The people at Christ, for some reason, don't like using bamboo poles. They say it's too difficult. I think it's easier with a bamboo pole than with a rope, because the wind doesn't catch it so much with a bamboo pole, because it's a stiff pole. With a rope, it's blowing about in the wind. But yeah, I can do it with a bamboo pole. When I was good at it, when I was doing it like every week, I could get the bamboo pole off the side of Balk 40 or 49 at Crouch in the days when Blackpool 49 was running. I could get the bamboo pole off the side, upend it from one end. I didn't have to get hold of it in the middle. I just got hold of it at one end, upended it, hook, and then walk round with it in one hand, and with one hand hook it on at the other side, and then put the pole down and drop it back into the hook on the side of the tram that held the pole. And I could do it faster than somebody could turn another one with a rope. And it was funny because a little later I went to do a summer season on the Blackpool tramway, and somebody had said to me, when you go to Blackpool, don't tell them you come from Crouch. So I went to the conductor training school on the Blackpool tramway, and I remember this beautiful sunny day in May, going out onto the depot fan at Blackpool with my school colleagues, because there might have been 20 of us going through the conductor training school for that season, and the guy that was teaching us, who was actually one of the inspectors, nice chap, ever such a nice chap, he said, right, we're going to get a tram out the depot, and he got one of the drivers with him. He said, go and fetch that open boat out. So they went to fetch what they call an open boat out in Blackpool. If you don't know what an open boat is, Google it. Because it was one of the few things that they got left in Blackpool with a trolley at that time, because most things had got pantographs. And they said, right, we're all going to try turning the pole. And everybody's getting this bamboo pole, and they can't get it from being horizontal to being vertical, because it's like 15 foot long, and it's fairly heavy, I suppose. and they're all struggling with it, and knocking each other's heads off with it, like Eric Sykes on the plank, and they got it like on the shoulder, and somebody says to them, "What are you doing?" And they turn around and wipe somebody. So I just got this bamboo pole and just grabbed it, tick 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 tick, ching on the other end, and this examiner bloke, he looked at me and he went, "You're from Cryche, aren't you?" So my cover was blown, but yeah, it was very, very funny. Yeah. All sorts of things happened when we hopefully go to Blackpool in a couple of weeks' time. For those of you who are not going, we are going to make some videos. In fact, we're hoping to do some live streams from there on the day, and I will tell you some of the stories from Blackpool on the day, because there are some very, very good stories about a beauty queen called Marnie Birchall, who turned on the Blackpool illuminations once, and there's a story about her. There's a story about an unexpected tram jam caused by Sooty, and then there's the things that people say. The things that people say getting on the trams is just wonderful. How long will the next tram be? About 40 feet, madam. Do you stop at the Savoy? Not on my wages, I don't, sir. And my personal favourite one of those comes from Cryche, because on every trip at Cryche, there's a monument on top of the hill above Cryche. For those of you that have not been, the tramway at Cryche is partly in an old worked out quarry, and where the quarry has sort of taken away the side of a hill, up on top of this hill, which is now effectively on top of a cliff face, is a monument to the Sherwood Foresters Regiment, and the monument takes the form of a beacon. It's got a light on the top, which kind of, the idea is it shines across the area that is associated with the Sherwood Foresters Regiment. Well, this thing is effectively a lighthouse. It looks like a lighthouse, and indeed is a lighthouse. It shines a light at night. So you're going up the line at Cryche, and every time you're going up, somebody will say to you, "Excuse me, what's that on top of the cliff there?" And I say to them, "It's a lighthouse." And they'd say, "What do you mean it's a lighthouse?" I say, "It's a lighthouse." And say, "Well, why do you need a lighthouse in Derbyshire?" I say, "It's to keep the ships away, the oil tankers." And they said, "Don't be silly. There are no ships. You're in Derbyshire. There are no oil tankers." I said, "But there would be if we didn't have a lighthouse." So, well, yeah, there's all sorts of silly things like that, and the Blackpool one is they hear my accent and they go, "Why are you working in Blackpool? You're not from Blackpool. How come you're working here?" And I used to say, "Well, I had to come on doctor's orders." And they say, "Oh, really? Really? What happened?" I said, "Well, the doctor told me I'd got to pass a lot of water. And between Blackpool and Fleetwood, you can't pass much more water than that." Suit yourselves. Right. Gambo says, yeah, the 27th of May. Got the date booked off also. Excellent, Gambo. We'll see you there then. Dominic says, I'll get in touch by email on the particulars, but I can make it for Blackpool North about 11. Looking forward to it. I'll see if I can bring my Marantz along. Oh, crikey, yeah, look like a proper film crew. Yeah, go for it, Dominic. Yeah, sort of 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock-ish, I think will be about the right sort of time. If you have any problems, Dominic, if you can get yourself to oh, come on, what's the place called? Between Buxton and Manchester on the railway. Oh, it's not Marple, is it? No, come on. Anyway, that line between Buxton and Manchester that you'll probably go up to get from your house, Dominic. If you can get yourself somewhere there, or even to Buxton itself, I could possibly pick you up because I'll be more or less passing Buxton. And that place a little bit further up, I will definitely be passing because I do actually go right past the station. Christopher says Melbourne is getting new G-class trams soon to replace the 1980s A-class trams and the 70s Z3 class trams. I like the 70s Z3 class trams. They were like the last proper trams, really, those 1970s Z3s. I think they were the last, more or less the last proper trams anywhere. I think then. Things a place is Philadelphia in America that's got something that's very similar that's still running. Yeah. I'm not into these modern plastic caterpillar things like they've got in Blackpool now. No, I'm not into these horrible modern plastic things. Apart from anything else, they ride horribly because they're effectively like the things they've got in Blackpool now, these purple things, what I call the purple plastic caterpillars, much to the disdain of the management of Blackpool Transport. They're effectively 3 4-wheel trams coupled together. And a 4-wheel tram rides nowhere near as well as a bogie tram. And these modern trams are effectively 3 4-wheelers coupled together. The bogies on the Blackpool trams now do not rotate. They are fixed, and that's why they do 5 sections of trams. And they just ride awful, and they were shocking when they were brand new. I've not been on one since they were about a week old. When the system reopened after its upgrade, I went to have a look and was not impressed at all. They were absolutely shocking then, and I can't imagine they've got better with age. Dominic says, it's such a shame there's no modern double-decker trams. There is, Dominic. There's one here. There's one in a cupboard here, but I can't actually get to it easily at the minute. But there is one in a cupboard here. It's only a model. It's quite a big model. It's only a model. But it is it was made in the either late 60s or into the 70s. I think it was probably the 70s, and it was made by Duvag of Siemens Duvag fame for Hong Kong, when Hong Kong was thinking about having a new fleet of trams, and Duvag wanted to build brand new double deckers for them, and they made a big model as a prototype, and I've got it here. I was given it by an ex manager of Hong Kong City Tramways, and basically he gave me a lot of stuff A lot of stuff went to Cryche into their archives, but there was some stuff that they didn't want, and this was one of the things that came back to me as not being wanted, because it wasn't a real tram. It was the thing that never got built. So it's here in a big mahogany box. So yeah, not motorised, unfortunately. It would be good if it was motorised. It's quite big. And there are a couple of modern double deckers in Hong Kong. They did have a couple of modern ones built in Hong Kong that were not very successful. Mainly because the windows didn't open, and they relied on air conditioning. And of course, Hong Kong is a very hot and humid place. So the modern ones in Hong Kong have not been very successful. But actually, most of the trams in Hong Kong are modern. They just look old because they've kind of had new trucks and new bodies and new motors and new controllers. So over time, it's become a new tram. So there's not much that's actually genuinely old in Hong Kong, even though a lot of it looks old. The cable cars in San Francisco are similar. There's not much that's actually old in San Francisco. It just looks old because it's all been rebuilt multiple times with new bits. Somebody once said on a TV program, they say every cell in the human body renews every 90 days, and something similar happens to a steam engine. And it's true. It's true of all vehicles, I think. Christopher says, I know how to drive the Melbourne Z3 trams and A-class trams. Yeah, they're not hard to drive. They're not hard to drive a tram. In fact, they've got easier. Trams have got easier to steal. You used to have to do things with both hands, and now you just have a little joystick where you just do that, don't you? That. Yeah. How many have I driven? How many? I've driven lots over the years in different places. Yeah. I've had a go in at least most of the ones at Cryche. I've driven 602 at Cryche. Yeah, not many people have done that. I'm just trying to think. I've driven most of the ones at Colton Colville, or at least most of the ones that have been at Colton Colville a long time, because they've recently got a load more. But the ones that have been at Colton Colville a long time, I've driven them all except for Van Back 11, which is actually the one I'd like a go in, Van Back 11. Did I drive any of the Blackpool ones in Blackpool? Did I drive any of the Blackpool ones in Blackpool? I don't think I have driven any of them. They've actually been in Blackpool, no. No, I don't think I have. Chris says to drive the Z3s and A-class trams, you only need a PE1 key. Yeah, that's similar for the Sheffield Super Trams. They involve a key. They've got like a car ignition key that you have to put in, and and apparently these keys have to come from Germany. So if you lose one, all hell breaks loose. Because we've not got the technology to cut a key in the UK, apparently. But yes, the most exciting tram you can ride on in the UK. Well, you can't now because I think it's out of service now entirely. But it was Rack 2 in Blackpool. Because Blackpool and Fleetwood Rack 2, when the Blackpool and Fleetwood system opened in 1890, whatever it was, this is the Blackpool and Fleetwood, not the Blackpool Corporation tramways, which came first in 1885. A little bit later on, in 1890 something, the Blackpool and Fleetwood opened, that went between Ginn Square in North Blackpool and Fleetwood, and formed that bit what is open now. They were joined up later. But when that opened, the Blackpool and Fleetwood tram road, technically it was a railway, and it also ran on 500 volts DC, which was strange because normally trams run on 550 or 600 volts DC, but normally they run on a nominal 550 volts DC, which depending on, and this is when you used to generate your own electricity at substations and things for tramways. So depending on how your generators were performing and how many trams are out on the system, you might only be getting 500 volts, you might be getting 600 volts, but nominally they ran on 550. The Blackpool and Fleetwood tram road nominally ran on 500. So they were lower voltage cars. But because everything is so over-engineered on old things, they could run on higher voltage systems. They just went faster. So these things that were designed, they were very light. Blackpool and Fleetwood Rack 2 is very light because there's hardly any bodywork to it. It's basically just a flat platform with seats on and a roof and no sides and no windscreens or anything on it. So it's very light. Fairly overpowered anyway to run on 500 volts because it was designed to run like interurban between Blackpool and Fleetwood before that area was built up. So it was designed to be fast at the best of times, but now in modern times, by the time we got to the 1960s when it was restored for the 75th anniversary, it was by then it was running on nominally 550. So it was going considerably quicker because it would get an extra 50 volts all the time, at least. And now it's quite common for the Blackpool system to have 600 volts in the overhead. So a few years ago, Rack 2 went back. It had some cosmetic work done on it at Crash, and then it went back to Blackpool. It only went for, I think it was for a week. They only let them have it for a week. But during that week, I travelled on it to Fleetwood. Or I don't actually think it went all the way to Fleetwood. I think there was some reason it couldn't go all the way to Fleetwood, but certainly up on North Shore, going over to Cleveland and that sort of area. And it absolutely flew. It absolutely flew. And I'm told that when they restored it in the 1960s, it was running in Blackpool, and there was a policeman with one of the first radar speed trap gun things to exist, and he pointed it at Rack 2 and it was doing 50 miles an hour which is quite quick for a tram. and I think it did 60 miles an hour. I think, but people say trams are slow. They're really not under the right circumstances. The Blackpool double deckers you get now, the blue, what they call the balloon cars, and that they are thought of as being bulky, slow, rattly things. But I can tell you, when I worked there, and the last tram used to come back from Fleetwood at about midnight, there'd hardly ever be anybody on it. It probably wouldn't stop between Fleetwood and the depot. And that used to get a lick on. That last balloon back from, if that last car back from Fleetwood always got a lick on, but if it was a balloon, it was very exciting because it was basically very straight track, this double-decker swaying around till it gets to Ginn Square. Then at Ginn Square, because it's where the Blackpool and Fleetwood tram road and the old Blackpool Corporation tram road were joined together, there's a kink in the track. There's like a bit of a dog leg in it. So at Ginn Square, it suddenly has to go around the corner. I have to do that. And you're rattling along from Fleetwood on the last tram at night, and you're going down the hill, and you suddenly realise Ginn Square is approaching, and you can see the Sandwich Flats in the windscreen coming towards you at great speed, and you think, are we going around this corner, or are we booking into the Sandwich Flats? But we did go around the corner. So it was okay. But yeah, some very, very funny things have happened on the Blackpool trams. Very funny things. Don't even ask about the JCB digger that got flirted into the water. Chris says, I have tram keys in my bedroom for the Melbourne trams, but never use them. You know, they'll probably fit some of the trams here, Christopher. Have I got a key for anything? Have I got a key? I don't think I've got a key for one. I'm now thinking I have got a key somewhere. I'm thinking I've got a key for a Blackpool Standard somewhere. There were basically only 2 or 3 different keys that they used to use in this country, and I will bet you they're the same as the ones that you use in Melbourne. I'll bet you they're the same. There's a flat one that just looks like a spanner, and then there's one that is a bit more of a complicated thing that fits over a little pip that sticks up on the controller. So the key, so it's a spanner, but it's kind of hollowed out, so this thing that sticks up can run through a groove in it. And but they're the main 2 types that you get here. But generally, if you want to start a traditional tram, an adjustable spanner, big adjustable spanner is all you need. Yeah, I've seen it done. Right, okie dokie. Christopher says, I also have a train carriage key too. Yes, Christopher, I've got one of those. Yes, there used to be a chap who I knew, whose name was Shane. We all called him Pain because he was. It was a right pain. He was your typical. No, not your typical rail enthusiast. He was your stereotypical rail enthusiast. It was like, I think the next train is slightly the wrong shade of blue, that train. There's one rivet missing over there. I'm going to get in touch with British Rail and tell them that they need to put that. And oh, dear me. And I was on a train going somewhere once. I can't even remember where the hell we were going. I have a feeling we were going up the Hope Valley line, but I'm not certain about that. But we're going somewhere, and he happened to be on this train. And a week previously, at some sort of rally vintage event thing, I'd bought a carriage key. and it was still in my pocket. And he went into this DMU and he went to the toilet. And the chap I was with says, "Have you got your carriage key in your pocket?" I said, "Yes." He says, you don't lock pain in the toilets." I said, "Watch me." so I turned the carriage key, and this little thing came up and said, "Toilet out of service." And there's pain on his toilet going, "Let me out, let me out, let me out, you swine, let me out." we left him there and got off at the next station. Yeah, rather good. Dominic says, "I'll be in touch about Blackpool." Excellent. Okie dokie. He said, "I've got to head off now, but have a great weekend, everyone." Yeah, I've got to head off as well, actually, because it's getting on for 9 o'clock, and I've got to go and put some chickens to bed for my neighbours. But thanks to everybody for taking part in this once again. So it's not been terribly telephone related today. But normal service will be resumed again soon. We will be back next week. I think we're going to be on next week for another probably slightly oddball live stream. Are we on next week? Yes, I think we will be on next week. Yeah, we'll be on again next week, and then we will be on the week after, I think. And then I think the week after that we're going to be off because we're going to be doing this thing on the Bank Holiday Monday, hopefully with Dominic and Gambo from Blackpool. The plan is, for that Bank Holiday Monday, there will be, hopefully, if the technology works, a number of live streams that day. So if you're not coming to Blackpool, free the day in your diary to sit and watch YouTube or Odyssey or whatever you're watching us on, because hopefully there will be a number of live shows on that day from key places around Blackpool. And we'll do something with the trams. I'm not sure what yet, but we'll do something with the trams. But we're not going to do what everybody else does. We're not going to do the oh, look at the tower, look at the trams, look at the promenade, because everybody does that, don't they? We'll do it from a different angle somehow. We'll show you a different side of it if we possibly can. So that is going to be coming up May Bank Holiday Monday. Hopefully starting properly around about lunchtime, and going on till about tea time-ish, I should think. It will be a number of different live streams, because there'll be a live stream, then it'll stop, and then it'll restart again, then it'll stop, and then it'll restart again. But there will hopefully be bits and pieces filling in the bits between the live streams as well for people who are watching. We're using a new piece of technology to do it, hopefully. Something that we've not used before. A very new piece of streaming technology that basically I've wanted to be able to do for ages and ages and ages, not been able to do before, but now I think we might just have the ability to do it. So we're going to give it a shot and see how wrong it can go. But we'll be back here as normal next week. So until 7 o'clock next week, thanks very much for watching. Also, thanks to our patrons. Because I'm up here in the loft, I can't put the little caption thing up with all the patrons' names on, unfortunately. But thanks to everybody who is a patron. And also thanks to our very own Christopher 2000, who has also joined up on Patreon as well. It has not gone unnoticed. So we will add you to the list when we get the proper captions and stuff back up again. But for now, thanks to everybody for watching, and we'll return to the telephones and things next week. But for me, for now, have a fantastic week ahead, and I will see you all very soon. Bye for now, everybody. Bye.